Mike in California. Mike, you're talking to Eric and V. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me on as the first caller.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you guys doing?
Doing good.
We're doing very well. I think I'm over-caffeinated.
Likewise. This is going to be fun.
But other than that,
Yeah,
just
me too.
fun. What'd you want to talk about today?
Well, I guess I'd like to talk about a whole variety of things. I've called on to the atheist experience several times. I've talked to Matt and Tracy, and that's kind of how I came upon your show as well.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you all a shout out. I think what you guys are doing is great.
Thank you.
Getting out there and talking about what you think and what you believe. I think that's the first step to everything, just to start. So whatever disagreements we might have, that's how I think about you guys. I don't want you guys to think that I look down upon you in any way.
Whoa.
You're definitely doing a lot more than I am with my life. So kudos there.
It feels like you're setting up a nice cushion for us. Thank you. That's very kind. So what's up?
So yeah, I've been around the world. I'm Korean American. I have an MBA degree. I'm pretty educated, and I'm out here in Silicon Valley. I work in tech, so it's not like I'm some guy from the hills who goes to church every day, stuff like that. But I've come to had a recent experience where I guess you could call it supernatural, where you can, just to make it short, I believe I saw heaven. And when I started looking into all these different researches into like near-death experiences and what people are saying about heaven, and actually reading what's written in the Bible, I'm really seeing a lot of undeniable coherences that you can't really disregard. But I'm not asking you to believe all of that, really. That's just kind of a preface of where I'm coming from.
Sure. I mean, I'd like to respond to that
Yeah.
really quickly, though. And that is that, yes, near-death experiences are a thing. I don't know, were you experiencing a near-death experience at the time?
No, my story is a little bit more complicated.
Okay. I
had this dream when I was 5 years old. And just to make it short, I had a dream when I was 5 years old, and I saw heaven pretty much. I woke up from the dream thinking it was just a dream. I tried to rehab this dream, recite it in my brain for 10 years of my life. Mm-hmm. I grow up, forget about it. Then I fall into like what they call quote unquote sin, right? I'm doing drinking, partying, cocaine, all that stuff. And basically I get married and have a kid, and I'm really struggling with my life and my anger management problems. And
so
my wife gets really sick.
You're hitting a point of crisis.
She falls into a coma, and I come upon this book about a boy who visited heaven. Yeah. And in that book, he's describing my dream verbatim. Right. So that's kind of where my faith becomes like really strong, and I start believing in all of that stuff. And it's just the timing of all of it was really uncanny. And they say like the God works in mysterious ways. Right. So, it's not that I'm special in any way, but it's that, I've hit that rock bottom, and I've gone really the wrong way. And only by doing that is how you can really get to the truth. I think that all of these religious people in church really don't really know what they're believing.
Mike?
Right, go ahead.
Sorry, this is we want a dialogue. This is turning into a monologue.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You touched about the boy who visited heaven, and I know you wanted to jump in on it first. You can say it, I'll just say the guy's name is Alex Malarkey, which is funny.
Yeah.
Very good.
They did. I haven't read the entire article. But I'd suggest you do a little bit of research on, something that was published fairly recently. Well, not too recently.
No, I mean, I know you guys are talking, making reference to him coming out and saying, that book, and they retracted that book, actually.
Right.
Because he lied.
Really did real research.
Well, hold on. Let's be clear. It's because he lied.
Well, he retracted the book because his father lied. The book is actually written by his father. Not him.
So he says he made it up. Do you understand that?
No.
Okay, Alex Malarkey did not come out and say, I made it up. Is that
right?
No,
he didn't say that.
Okay, look it up. No. I actually have it right in front of me. TheGuardian.com.
What he said was
regardless,
the Bible is enough.
regardless.
It says the Bible is enough. At
And
the
it's
end of
not.
that statement.
If you are being a critical thinker,
Why would he say that
Mike,
well, yes, I am.
if you're being a critical thinker, you would know that the Bible is not enough. You should want more. You should have more. If the Bible is true, then there should be extra biblical evidence that'll support that claim.
That's true.
Right?
And if
So
you were
let's
also-
jump
you
in,
would
Mike.
look into-
Mike, please let me finish talking.
I'm
Please.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
No, that's
Go ahead.
okay. So let's dive back into your experience. You had a dream when you were 5. Is that something that would convince you of anything else, or are you making a special exception for yourself because this is relating to a God? Because I have a whole lot of dreams, but I don't base my reality on it.
Yeah, this was not like any other dream. That's why.
Okay, I have a whole lot of dreams that are
It was
very...
actually like a dream.
Yeah, how does that map to reality? When do dreams...
I called it a dream.
Okay.
The only reason I called it a dream is because it took place while I went to sleep, after I went to sleep.
That would generally be a
That's what a
dream.
dream would be, yeah.
Yeah. But it actually felt like I was there. It was very real. And I saw things I felt this immense
Mike.
joy. It was like I couldn't stop laughing. All right, go ahead.
No, I got you. And this does, I mean...
We don't typically
it's
feel that in dreams.
Actually, lucid dreaming's a thing.
I love lucid dreaming.
It's
I've had dreams where
yeah.
I can make myself fly, and I'm aware that I'm doing it, and it's different from my other
Yeah,
dreams. But
me
that
too.
doesn't mean that I can fly. I wouldn't jump off of a building.
It was. I've also had lucid dreams. It was nothing like a lucid dream.
So
it was nothing like that. It was actually like an NDE experience. When you listen to people having NDEs, how they explain, there's certain sequences. They'll explain being in like this dark place and they can't see anything.
Yes,
There's pitch black darkness.
and that all
then,
maps.
Like, there's sequences.
Mike,
Yeah, I had the exact same experience.
absolutely. No, it's okay. It absolutely maps to what happens to a brain when it starts shutting down for lack of oxygen. That's the body's process of dying. That absolutely. And the specifics, you can see that in near-death experiences in other parts of the world where the religions are different, they experience their own version of heaven because that's what they want to map onto it. When you're talking about memory, you're talking about something that's very, very flexible. Being humans, it's very, very easy for that to change. And over time, you can convince yourself of something like that. So I guess where I'm sitting here, and I think I can speak for V and I both, when I say that, would you accept that we don't think that a dream that you had when you were 5 and then had again as an adult is a good reason for us to accept that there's a God?
Yes, I would accept that.
Okay, so when I'm looking at the notes here, it says you wanted to talk about something else. If God appeared to us, would we believe, right?
Yes, that was really my question that would kind of lead into that, was that, if you guys had an experience like I did, would you then, like, not just believe, but would you be sorry for what you've done in the past?
Well, I have had experiences like what you had. When I was a kid, I prophesied. I had visions of God in the room, and it hasn't convinced me at this point. Also, would I be sorry? No. I would if I could verify that God had indeed appeared to me somehow. Not sure how I would do that, but if I could, then I would say, oh, okay, I believe that you exist now, but not sorry. Not going to change the way I live my life. Right.
Yeah, I have a similar, well, I didn't prophesy, but I was a born-again Christian, and I lived that life for quite a while. And one of the things that really kind of hit me was, it seems like people have these experiences when they're undergoing an extreme amount of stress, or are oxygen deprived, or are on drugs. Things that we generally would not give credence to because our minds are altered, right? And I don't understand why you would put that there. And for me, if I were to be convinced, or what would convince me, could you give me your question specifically?
Yeah, well, when I had vision or dream or whatever it was. I was 5 years old. I definitely wasn't intoxicated or dying or any of that. I don't know what it was really. My question though was if you...
Well, you were five. Your brain
is
is not fully developed at the age of 5, so...
But even if, no matter what...
It's uncanny that I could have that experience.
I mean, not really. We all have dreams. We all have very realistic dreams.
I mean, it wasn't a dream, is what I'm saying. It was exactly like an NDE. I know what they're talking about when they're explaining these NDEs, and I can tell you in other countries, even if they have NDEs and explain it in their own religious linguistic or language, they're still trying to describe the same metaphysical or spiritual thing. It's like you're trying to describe something that we don't really have words to describe for in this world.
We do, because they're described. Right? The things that are similar are the things that happen when you experience hypoxia, right? It's pretty clearly lined out. And also the reliability of memory is very clearly shown to be very faulty. So however far away you are from 5, I wouldn't put a whole lot of... And it doesn't even matter at this point because you already accepted that that is not enough to convince us.
That's not really what I'm trying to...
Yeah, so do you have something that would convince us? Or it says in the notes you'd like to know if we would repent for refusing to believe. Is that your language?
If you had a experience like I did, let's assume hypothetically that something miraculously happened to you, some angels lifted you out of a car crash, I don't know, something crazy. Mm-hmm. And then you're sure, okay, this is evidence that there is not God, but something supernatural out there that points towards God. Would that lead you to kind of believe and be sorry that you kind of lived your life turning away from God and you know what and of course I'm assuming this is a Christian God.
I guess I just don't understand the connection between the two, really. Also, I haven't lived my whole life this is relatively new for me. So I'd probably just refer him back to the first 20-something years and be like, hey, well, just take a look at that. But no, so like for me, I don't understand the correlation between beginning to believe in something because I've been given enough evidence and feeling any kind of remorse or, apologetic guilt for not doing it before. Like I don't understand trigonometry as well as I probably should, but I don't. And if I were taught trig, right, then I would know it. But that wouldn't make me feel bad for having not known it before I was taught it. So for me, I guess that's the gap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And I guess my follow-on question can I ask is, well, can anybody really know God exists?
Well, so it totally depends. And that actually ties into what I was thinking, and that is, you said if I were to have a miraculous experience, right? If I were to have this miraculous experience, then I would try to find some way to independently verify that what I've experienced is real and not that I've had a psychotic break. Because we have tons of evidence of psychotic breaks happening to people who have had no issue of mental illness at all in their lives. It absolutely happens, but we don't have evidence of miracles. And so I would absolutely be a skeptic about it and go, okay, how can I verify this? I would pluck an angel wing or something so that I can go, okay, no, I've got something, right? I need that. Because if I don't have that, I can't trust my own memory. That's something that if you take a look at the history of witnesses to crimes and the reliability of that account, it's terrifying how much memory changes just in that small amount of time. And because of that, it's just unreliable. And so... That's not entirely true, though, right? Because even though it's unreliable at the extreme cases of the probability scheme, if you have a bell curve, then you
that's just at the really extremes that it's incorrect or really correct. And on average, most of our memory is probably, close to 95% accurate. We can remember things when we were very young. We can remember, how it felt when our mom used to hold us or when our father used to hold us.
Yeah, that's patently untrue, Mike. Mike, that is patently untrue and has been falsified and proven to be false.
What do you mean?
So people have said that for a long time. Freud used to do that crap, and it has been proven not to be true.
That our memory is our memory is as accurate as you were saying. When you remember something, okay, so the very first time something happens and you remember it, you are remembering the event, right? The next time you remember it, you are remembering the event. And suddenly there's a gap there between the memory and the event. And every time you think about something that happened to you, you are remembering the last time you remembered it, not the actual event. And that's kind of terrifying. But it's also like that memory is extremely malleable and is completely based on what you've experienced since then.
But I suggest that you.
No,
I suggest I suggest you send us some research because this is something that's been studied. Why don't you send it to us and give us a call next week and we can talk about it together? Do you know our email?
Sure. No, I don't. But I'll give you a call next time I have some time, and then we can continue because I feel like we didn't really get to where I wanted to go, but eventually.
Yeah, I highly suggest you do the research on it and send it to us, mail@talkheathen.com, so we can have a more informed conversation. Just in a nutshell, what did you want to get to? Because I try and steer this so it doesn't go off the rails so we can get to the question.
Okay. I didn't want to just jump on it because it sounds a little bit, belittling and whatnot. But really what it is I find a lot of atheists find that they're confusing the notion of knowledge and belief. They think they know things that they actually just believe, and they think it's like, and Jesus says, right, when he's talking to these Pharisees, he's saying the Pharisees he's saying, I came into the world so that the blind can see, and so that those who see may become blind. And the Pharisees ask him, what are you calling us blind? And then Jesus tells them, well, since you think you can see, or quote unquote know, since you think you know, your sins remain. So there's a problem with belief that prevents us from believing in God, and that problem really is our internal arrogance and thinking that we know things we really don't.
Okay. So I absolutely accept that we live in a culture where people are encouraged to pretend that they know something when they don't, or act like they have more confidence in the knowledge of something when they don't have that much knowledge. I think our definitions are off, though, because when you're talking about belief and knowledge, those are things that nest inside of each other. And so the larger circle is belief. And so you're looking at this circle of belief, and everything you believe is in there. Those are things you accept to be true, right? Now, inside of that circle is your knowledge. Now, those are things that you believe, but are also justified and true. And people use different definitions for knowledge, but this is one that I'm going to go with on this one. And so everything that you know, you believe, right? But you can believe something and not know it. I'm making sweeping circles with my arms in the air to try and visualize it. But when you're talking about knowledge and belief, this is my understanding of it. And so I'm having trouble understanding what you're saying because of my definitions.
What I'm saying is that circle of knowledge is probably a lot bigger than it should be within the atheist mind. In reality, that circle is really only what you experience and what you directly know, like you've touched this. Your memory really is what you know. And everything outside of that is really just a belief. But a lot of people act like they know things that are just beliefs, like the Pharisees that acted like they knew they were descendants of God, and they knew God wanted them to wash their hands every morning, etc. They had all these rituals that they assumed to know, whereas they didn't really believe in all of it. They kind of assumed that they knew.
All right, I get what you're. I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
we're monologuing again. I get it. No, it's okay. I'm trying to, because this is a show, we try and go through it fast. But Mike, who cares? what you're saying, we have knowledge of, and what we take as knowledge. I mean, who cares? What's the point? Are you trying to denigrate the things that we accept?
No.
Saying that we know.
I was hoping not to do that.
No, so if that's okay, then this is a pointless conversation.
Yeah, and of course not. That's not what I was hoping to do.
Perfect.
It's not denigrate at all. It's just something that I personally always struggled with. And I see that, you guys are a lot like me. I'm a skeptic too. I couldn't believe all that stuff that, I was like, I must be going crazy too, So I'm like a doubter, like Thomas is in the Bible, I guess. I just still can't believe some certain things.
And yet doubting Thomas was put down and was castigated for wanting evidence.
Right.
Doubting
exactly.
Thomas
I don't believe that's true. Right?
Well, doubting Thomas is a story in the Bible of a character who was put down and is used as an example of anti-intellectualism. And that is
yes. So from the Catholic Church and then from the religious community, there's been a lot of wrong things done. But
I agree.
At the end of the day,
Mike,
Jesus appeared to Thomas, right? And Jesus took Thomas to heaven just like all the other disciples.
Does Mike, does Jesus love doubting Thomas more than he loves me or V?
I don't think so, no.
Does God love Saul on the road to Damascus before changing his name to Paul and becoming an apostle? Does God love Saul? Did God love Saul more than he loves myself or V?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so how come these are exceptions where God comes and says, no, here is evidence? Well, actually, even Saul's is a vision, so that's...
A little iffy there.
Yeah, true enough. But the doubting Thomas... Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then I'm waiting for them to show up. I don't think that's impossible to ask, and I don't think it's wrong to ask for actual evidence. I encourage you to work on your skepticism because you're accepting something without having a lot of clear, in my opinion, good reasons why. But we've been on this call for a while, so I think we're going to move on to the next caller.
I appreciate your guys' time. I don't assume to know. It's just what I'm starting to believe. And I hope you guys come closer to that too. Thanks.
Thank you. He used my definition. I don't presume to know everything. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
All right.